You know, some books, they just stick around, don't they? They tap into something so, well, fundamental about people that they're still relevant generations later.
Absolutely. And Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is definitely one of those. A classic.
Right, and that's what this deep dive is all about today. We're diving into that book, looking at the core ideas, the principles, and pulling out some of those really vivid examples from the source material you provided.
Yeah, the goal is really to unpack the practical wisdom here, things you can actually use.
Exactly. Stuff you can start applying like today to understand people better, connect more effectively, whether that's, at work or just at home.
It's all about building those stronger relationships, really based on actually understanding people.
Okay, so let's get into it. Carnegie kicks things off with something that honestly goes against the grain for a lot of us. Principle number 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Pretty direct.
It really is. And it's tough because, well, our first instinct when something goes wrong is often to point fingers, right? To criticize.
Oh, yeah. That anecdote in the book about the father constantly picking at his son.
About his posture, how he ate, just everything, finding fault constantly.
And the father's realization later, that sick feeling he got, realizing all that criticism wasn't helping. It was just creating resentment and distance. He totally missed the good stuff in the kid.
And that's Carnegie's whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Criticism is futile. He calls it a homing pigeon. It always comes back to hurt you. It just makes people defensive.
They justify themselves, dig their heels in, or even, turn it back on you.
Exactly. It breeds resentment, not improvement. Think about Lincoln early on.
Oh, the duel story. He wrote that critical letter, and the other guy, Shields, was so furious he challenged him.
Right. Shows how inflammatory criticism can be, even leading to violence potentially.
Yeah.
It just doesn't build bridges.
So if not criticism, then what? What's the alternative Carnegie suggests?
Well, instead of condemning, try to understand. Try to figure out why people do what they do, their motives, their perspective.
Like that quote, to know all is to forgive all. Shift from judging to just being curious.
Exactly. And that understanding, it naturally leads to more sympathy, tolerance, kindness. It's just more productive, more insightful.
And that kind of flows into another point, right?
Yeah.
About handling mistakes, particularly your own.
Oh, yeah. Principle 3, partly. If you are wrong, admit it. Quickly, emphatically.
This one's fascinating. There's real power in just owning it. Like that story about the guy, Parsons, and the tax inspector.
Arguing got him nowhere. The inspector just got more rigid.
But then he completely shifted gears, admitted maybe his issue was minor compared to the inspector's bigger cases, praised his experience.
And the whole interaction changed. The inspector softened, became helpful, and sorted it out. Admitting fault just disarmed the whole situation. It's surprisingly effective.
It makes me think of Ben Franklin, how he consciously stopped being so argumentative after a friend called him out. He learned to be more diplomatic.
Yeah, he realized winning the argument wasn't always the goal. Sometimes, as the book says, it's better to yield a little. Like that poem about the guy with the right of way.
Oh, the one who was dead right but still ended up dead. Stark.
Exactly. Fighting doesn't get you enough, but yielding often gets you more than you expected. It's about preserving the relationship, the goodwill.
Okay, so avoid negativity, admit when you're wrong. What's next? Carnegie really digs into a core human driver, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. This deep, fundamental craving to be appreciated, that desire for a feeling of importance.
Yeah, that really stood out. He frames it as almost primal, as strong as needing food or sleep, citing Freud, Dewey, William James.
And it manifests in so many ways. You see it with, say, Rockefeller giving away money to build things named after him.
Or, on the dark side, someone like Dillinger wanting to be public enemy number 1. Same drive, different expression.
History's full of it. George Washington wanting to be called His Mightiness. Columbus wanting titles. Catherine the Great collecting letters.
Even Mrs. Lincoln in the White House, fiercely guarding her status. Or millionaires funding expeditions just to get mountains named after them.
It's incredibly powerful. And the book even mentions extreme, sad cases, like people becoming invalids, like Mrs. McKinley.
Or even retreating into fantasy, like that story of Lady Smith. Just to grasp that feeling of importance, it shows how deep that need runs.
So if people go to such lengths, even into delusion for that feeling, imagine what you can achieve, as Carnegie says, just by giving genuine, honest appreciation.
Which brings us right to principle 2. Give honest, sincere appreciation.
And the emphasis there is on honest and sincere. This isn't about flattery. People see right through that.
Right, flattery is just telling people what they already think about themselves, basically. Appreciation is about genuinely seeing something good and pointing it out.
Like Charles Schwab, paid a fortune not just for knowing steel, but for managing people. His secret. He said it was appreciation and encouragement.
And it can be simple things, right? Praising a kid's effort on homework, not just the grade. Thanking a server who was really attentive.
Definitely. Acknowledging a coworker's contribution. That story about Pamela Dunham and the janitor is perfect.
Oh yeah, criticism didn't work at all.
Nope. But when she started sincerely praising the few times he did do a good job, especially mentioning it to others, his whole performance improved over time. The appreciation worked.
It links back to that Emerson quote, too. Every man I meet is my superior in some way.
And that I learn of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It forces you to look for the good, to find something admirable, and then acknowledge it sincerely.
And that ties really closely to another key idea. Become genuinely interested in other people.
It seems so basic, but we often forget. People are fundamentally interested in themselves, first and foremost. Think about phone calls. I is apparently the most used word.
Trying to make people interested in you just doesn't build strong connections. Like Napoleon, massive ego, tons of power, but died almost friendless.
Because his focus was always himself. Alfred Adler, the psychologist, put it bluntly, the person not interested in others has the hardest time in life and causes the most problems.
To have friends, you need to be interested.
Exactly. Like that magazine editor who could tell if a writer genuinely liked people just from their submissions.
Or that salesperson, Sykes, who kept a big account because he actually talked to the clerks, showed interest in them. When the boss wanted to switch suppliers, the clerks stood up for Sykes.
And Carnegie himself used this. How did he get busy celebrities for his courses? He showed genuine interest in their achievements, asked for their advice. He appealed to their interests.
And maybe the simplest, most powerful way to show interest. Remembering and using someone's name.
Oh, absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Carnegie calls it the sweetest and most important sound to that person. It makes them feel recognized, important. FDR was apparently amazing at this.
Remembering mechanics' names he'd only met once.
Yeah. Or think about Andrew Carnegie as a kid, naming rabbits after his friends so they'd help feed them. Brilliant.
And that story about Sid Levy and Mr. Nicodemus Papadoulos.
Wow. Taking the time to learn and use his full name after everyone called him Nick for years. The guy apparently cried. It shows the emotional impact.
Okay, so we understand people, we appreciate them, we show genuine interest, we use their name. How do we then, influence them, get them on board with an idea?
Right. This is where we get into things like Principle 5. Arouse in the other person an eager want. And talking in terms of their interests.
The fishing analogy, right. Bait the hook to suit the fish, not yourself.
Exactly. You don't use strawberries and cream to catch bass. You use worms, because that's what the fish wants. Frame your idea around how it benefits them.
How does doing what you want help them get what they want?
The parenting examples in the book are so good here.
Like getting the little boy to eat, nagging failed completely.
But when the dad connected eating to being strong enough to beat the bully who took his trike, boom, eager want unlocked.
Or the bedwetting boy. Punishment was useless.
But giving him his own pajamas, like dad, his own bed. Framing staying dry as being a big boy, worthy of those things.
That appealed to his pride, his desire to grow up. It worked.
And the little girl refusing cereal. Let her make it herself. Suddenly it's about self-expression, feeling important. Ate the lot.
It's the same in business. Carnegie negotiating his rent. He didn't plead poverty.
No, he focused entirely on the landlord's advantages. Reliable tenant, no vacancy, good for other businesses.
Yeah.
Talk the landlord's language.
It all comes back to that Henry Ford idea. The secret of success is seeing things from the other person's point of view, understanding their angle.
Makes sense. And another tactic for gaining cooperation. Start friendly. Principle 4.
Absolutely. Coming in hot just raises defenses. Woodrow Wilson's point, approach with fists up and they'll raise theirs too. Approach wanting to talk and you might find common ground.
Like the guy settling the damage claim. Gerald H. Wynn didn't demand anything up front.
Nope, started chatting about the owner's vacation, built some rapport first, made the difficult conversation much easier. Or the other example, Dean Woodcock, smoothing things over with that photographer just by being friendly and understanding from the start. It just works better.
It disarms people. And speaking of getting people on side, there's the yes, yes technique. Principle 5, Part 2.
Getting them agreeing with you from the start.
Yeah, build that momentum. Start with questions or statements they absolutely have to agree with. Get them nodding along. Makes it harder to pivot to no later.
The bank teller and the reluctant customer. That's a great illustration.
Totally. Customer won't give next of kin info. Teller doesn't argue. Asks. Want your money to go to your family if something happens? Yes. Good for the bank to have the name to make that smooth. Yes. Led the customer right to seeing the benefit for himself.
And Joseph Allison selling those motors? Brilliant.
So smart. Engineer says motors are too hot. Allison agrees. Yep, shouldn't be hotter than standard. Then asks about the standard temperature rules. Yes. Room temperature? Yes. Total allowable temperature? Yes. Hot enough to burn a hand? Yes.
He got the engineer to walk himself through the logic and realize he was measuring wrong, not that the motors were faulty. Walked out with a huge order.
It's about guiding their thinking through agreement.
And one more on this theme. Principle 9. Be sympathetic. Understand their ideas and desires.
A lot of this comes down to assuming good intentions, especially in disputes, like Mr. Thomas handling billing complaints.
He didn't argue the charges. He started with sympathy. Yeah, I can see why you're upset. This seems mishandled. I'm sorry.
And then he appealed to their fairness. Look, I trust you to be fair. Adjust this bill the way you think is right, as if you were running the company.
And astonishingly, people often adjusted it fairly, sometimes even in the company's favor, because he trusted their integrity instead of fighting them.
A powerful approach.
Okay, so that's influencing cooperation. What about when you actually need to? Well, lead or correct someone, change their behavior. This loops back to principle 1, doesn't it? But used differently.
Right. Call attention to mistakes indirectly. Avoid that direct confrontation if you can.
The big trap here is using but after praise, isn't it? Johnny, your grades are better, but you failed math.
Exactly. The but cancels out the praise. Carnegie suggests using and instead, or even better, just praising the behavior you want to see repeated.
Like Marge Jacob and the messy construction site.
Perfect example. She didn't yell. She and the kids cleaned it up once. Then she just warmly praised the foreman the next day for how nice and clean the site was left.
So she praised the result she wanted, setting an expectation.
And it worked. They started cleaning up after themselves. No direct criticism needed.
Because direct criticism can damage pride, which leads to principle 6. Let the other person save face.
So important.
Yeah.
Especially publicly. Think about GE and Steinmetz. Brilliant scientist, but failing as a department head.
They didn't just demote him or fire him?
No. They created a new, prestigious title for him, consulting engineer. Let him step aside from management gracefully, keeping his dignity and feeling important, while still contributing his genius.
It's about consideration. Don't just crush someone's ego.
Never. And that ties into encouragement, too. Principle 6, Part 2, and Principle 8. Praise even the slightest improvement. Praise every improvement. And make the fault seem easy to correct.
This is all about building people up. Praise is like sunlight, Carnegie says. You need it for growth.
Tell people they have a flair for something. Make the task seem manageable, not overwhelming. Gives them that fine reputation to live up to.
Like Enrico Caruso's mother. His first teacher gave up on him.
Said he had no voice. But his mother believed, praised him, sacrificed for lessons. That belief fueled him.
Or the guy learning to dance. First teacher. Critical. Second teacher. Praised his rhythm, said the basics were fine, made it seem easy. Suddenly, he's motivated.
Lowell Thomas did it for Carnegie with bridge. Made it sound simple, said he had a knack for it, got him over the hurdle.
And that story about David, the boy labeled brain damaged, that's incredibly moving.
Struggling terribly with math. But his dad broke it down, made the times tables into a game, timed him, celebrated every tiny win.
Danced a jig when he beat his time.
That focus on small, achievable steps, making it seem easy, celebrating progress, it completely changed David's relationship with learning. He ended up excelling.
It shows the power of making the fault seem easy to correct and praising improvement and giving someone a reputation to live up to.
Like Henry Henke, the service manager with the underperforming mechanic.
Didn't criticize, just told him he was a fine mechanic, and he knew this dip was temporary because his track record was so good.
Exactly. Gave him that positive reputation, motivated him to meet it.
And this idea of giving responsibility, maybe even a title, also fits here, right? Making people glad to do what you want.
Appealing to that need for importance again. It's not just a task, it's a role. like Glenda Schmidt and the employee messing up price tags.
Gave her the grand title, Supervisor of Price Tag Posting.
And suddenly she took ownership. Her whole attitude changed.
Or Mrs. Gent making the naughtiest kid her lawn detective to stop others running across the grass.
Worked like a charm. Napoleon knew it ruling with titles and honors, toys as he called them. They give people status, responsibility, importance.
Wow. Okay, so we've really covered a lot. From the foundational stuff, avoiding criticism, owning mistakes, appreciating others, being interested right through to influencing people by seeing their perspective, starting friendly, getting agreement, and then leading change gently through indirectness, saving face, and tons of encouragement.
It's a comprehensive approach. And Carnegie is really clear, isn't he? This isn't about tricks or manipulation.
No, he stresses it has to come from a genuine place. It's a new way of life, he says, a real shift in how you see and interact with people.
It's less about changing them and more about changing your approach, rooted in genuine interest, honest appreciation, understanding their wants, their need for significance.
And if you adopt that mindset, think about the potential in colleagues, family, friends, that might just be waiting for that kind of understanding and encouragement to, blossom.
It's a powerful thought.
So, for everyone listening, maybe just take a second. Of all these principles we've touched on, which one kind of jumps out at you right now? Is there one specific thing you could commit to trying consciously, starting today?
Maybe it's catching yourself before criticizing and trying to understand instead. Or perhaps actively looking for something to genuinely appreciate about someone you find difficult.
Or even just reframing your next request, thinking first, what's in it for them?
Yeah, just consider what might happen if you focus a little less on fault-finding and a little more on finding and nurturing the potential in people through genuine understanding and appreciation.
Really interesting stuff to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.